Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome. It's so great to see you all. And we'll go ahead and just allow everyone to file in for just a moment. Thank you again for joining us today. We're really excited to have this more informal opportunity to be able to speak with each one of you and answer your questions about the Innovation Fund and about the 2021 Innovation Fund grant competition to build partnerships and training programs between the US, Central America, and the Dominican Republic. My name is Laura Cosette. I'm the Senior Program Officer for the Innovation Fund, and I'm joined today by Maggie Hug from the Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs at the US Department of State, and my colleague Ukiah Bush, who is the Director of Public-Private Partnerships for the Innovation Fund. It's a pleasure to have you all here today. And with that, I'll pass it off to Maggie to speak a little bit more about the Innovation Fund.
Muy buenos días, muy buenas tardes a todos que nos acompañan. Hello to everybody who's joining us. We think people from all over the United States, from all over Central America, the Dominican Republic, and some other countries. I also want to give a shout out to any of my embassy colleagues who might be listening in from all over Latin America and the Caribbean, and also to Education USA advisors who might be joining us. And as we go along, if you're here with us from Education USA, please do identify yourself in the chat box. And we really are excited, just like Laura said, and our colleagues at Partners of the Americas with Laura and Ukiah, we're really excited to be able to have this time to quickly present the information about this current convocatoria, the Cienca convocatoria, which is open now to all higher education institutions throughout the United States and all higher education institutions throughout La República Dominicana y Centroamérica. Some of you listening may have already started your proposals. Some of you may still be thinking about it. Some of you might be thinking about for next time. We welcome all of you. Bienvenidos a todos, a todas. And we encourage you to use that chat box as we move along so that we can also try to respond in real time. And we want to allow a lot of time for interactive question and answer. Recibimos las respuestas y recibimos cualquier pregunta en español y o en inglés. And we are happy to answer in English and Spanish. And the main point of today is for all of you listening to understand it a little bit more, if you don't already, about how the Innovation Fund works, why this is important for all of you to be aware of this wonderful opportunity to build partnerships and design innovative virtual and in-person in vivo programas for teams of students between the US and Latin America and the Caribbean, in this case, La República Dominicana. So with that, bienvenidos a todos, welcome to all. Whether you have applied for a grant before, whether you have received one or not, we encourage you to listen through, and we're here for your questions and answers. We're going to leave ample time for that. So over to you, Laura, y bienvenidos a todos y muchas gracias.
Great, thank you so much, Maggie. And with that, I will go ahead and start our brief presentation. And just as a note, we have all the information that I'll be going over in these presentations has been previously shared in our 2 other informational webinars for this competition. So I will be going through it rather quickly. However, all of this information is available on our website, both in PowerPoint format and in the webinar recording. So feel free to look over those. But for anybody who may not have been able to attend those webinars, we'll be briefly going over some of this information. So the first step in applying for an Innovation Fund grant is to join the Innovation Network. By joining the Innovation Network, you'll be able to have access to many different resources, receive updates on our grant competitions, as well as connect with other HEIs in order to find potential partners for your Innovation Fund grant. We also have many resources. So joining the Innovation Network is free, and you can do so at this link and on our website by clicking Join the Innovation Network. To apply for an Innovation Fund grant, again, you can do so on our website by visiting our application portal and creating a profile. And all of our application materials are available online, and your application will be done completely virtually. The current Open Innovation Fund grant competition is the 2021 Innovation Fund grant competition to build partnerships and training programs between the United States, Central America, and the Dominican Republic. This competition has been generously supported by Agroamerica and the Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs at the U.S. Department of State. The application deadline for this competition is on August 2nd. And if you would like to learn more about the competition and read the request for proposals, you can do so on our website. We always say that the request for proposal is the guiding document for this. It has all the information, all the requirements. And so we definitely recommend that you take a look at that. And all the information we cover here today is also available in the RFP. For this competition, there are 12 grants available of $25,000 US. And of course, this is dependent on the evaluation process. The eligible countries for this competition are the United States, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Panama, Belize, and the Dominican Republic. And for these partnerships, we're looking for at least one institution in the United States and at least one institution in one of these countries in Central America and or the Dominican Republic. And you can have as many institutions as you would like to be involved in these partnerships, as long as you meet the criteria of having at least one in the United States and at least one in the eligible countries in Central America and the Dominican Republic or the Dominican Republic. And if you're still working on finding a partner institution for this competition, or if you're interested in finding an institution for future competitions, there are various options that we have available to you. First, you can look at an Education USA Advising Center. And as Maggie mentioned, we have various colleagues with us today from Education USA Advising Centers in Central America. And these are a great resource to connect you with potential partners. As I mentioned, you can also join the Innovation Network. We have a directory where you can search by certain criteria. We also have forums where you can connect with other institutions. Excuse me, this one is not relevant for today. We will not be sharing your information. However, we do have a list of institutions from our previous webinars for this competition, where you can see the academic areas of interest as well as the location of potential partners. And of course, you can always contact us at 100K Strong Americas at partners.net, and we can help guide you in finding a partner institution. And this is definitely a theme that we will be covering in more detail today and can answer questions about. These are the eligible thematic areas for this grant competition. However, it's important to know that this is not an exhaustive list of eligible areas, and to learn more about exactly what qualifies under these thematic areas and see a more complete list, we suggest that you refer to the RFP. And additionally, if you can provide justification of how your thematic area falls under the RFP, then we are open to that as well, and it will be considered eligible. Now we will go on to a bit about the evaluation criteria and the necessary components for your Innovation Fund grant competition, or for your Innovation Fund proposal. The technical proposal is made up of the executive summary and program description, the sustainability plan, institutional capacity, challenges and opportunities for growth, and the monitoring and evaluation plan. This section should be no more than 10 pages maximum, and we have more information on all of these components on our website and in the RFP. The second section is the cost proposal, which is the budget summary and the budget narrative, and this makes up 20% of the evaluation criteria. And we also require supporting documents, which are the CVs and resumes of the project leaders, as well as letters of support from both your institution and your proposed partner institution. And we have much more information on all of these different components on our website at the link that I've provided here, and I can also provide that link in the chat once I'm done with this presentation. So again, here's a little bit more on each of the different components and what we're looking for. We will not, as I mentioned, go over this in a great amount of detail today, but we are available to answer your questions. And these are the key components of any proposal that you submit. And these are just some guiding questions to make sure that you have the necessary components. We will have this PowerPoint available on our website as well. Some final tips, we provide various templates and we strongly recommend that you use these. By doing this, it makes it easier for the reviewers to understand the information that you're providing, and it also makes sure that you're meeting all the criteria that we have. We also have a complete proposal sample and a budget narrative sample. So this is a great way to see exactly what it is that we're looking for and get an idea of the requirements and the format. Also make sure that all your proposal documents are submitted in English. Not all of our reviewers speak Spanish, so it's very important that the documents be in English, otherwise they will be considered incomplete. And don't wait, you can actually go in and create your profile and begin your proposal today. So we do recommend that you go ahead and do that so that you can make sure you have all the necessary components and make sure that when it does come time to submit, you're able to do so. And when in doubt, refer to our website and the RFP. We have the proposal format and design guidelines. We have grant FAQs, our most common questions, and the competition RFP, as I mentioned before. And as I mentioned, we've done 2 sets of informational webinars for this grant competition. The first was on applying for a 100K Innovation Fund grant, and the second was on tips and strategies for developing a 100K proposal. Both of these webinars also featured previous 100K grant recipients, so they also shared a lot of their tips, which can be very helpful. Both of these webinars were in English and Spanish. So these are all the materials as well as the recordings are available in English and Spanish, depending on the language that you prefer. And the recordings and all materials are available on our website. That is all from me. And now we will go ahead and open it up to answer some of your questions. Please go ahead and submit your questions via the chat box so that we're able to see them right now and can answer the questions as they come in.
Laura, may I suggest that we have the PowerPoint slide that shows the countries or some of the information about the current convocatoria? Thanks.
And another quick note, if you're joining us or haven't had the chance, if you could please change your name on Zoom to include your institution. You can do this by going to your name, opening the participants panel, going to your name, clicking more, and then clicking rename. This will allow us to see where everybody is joining us from and perhaps connect with other institutions.
And Laura, could we show your proposal checklist slide? That's a great slide. Yeah.
So again, please send us any questions in the chat and we'll answer those. All right, we have a question from Manuel Antonio Martinez from Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Honduras. We would appreciate your help in finding a U.S. partner institution. We are proposing a certificate in English as a foreign language, in which we will use augmented intelligence to develop a mobile app. So as my colleague Laura mentioned, if you sign up in the Innovation Network, there are resources there for finding a partner, or reach out to us by email with a little more information about the themes you're hoping to explore, and we can help. Also, Education USA can be immensely helpful in finding a partner. Here's a question from Heidi Gregori. Should we have a letter of intent signed by both institutions before the proposal submission? You do need a letter of support, a letter of intent from both institutions, from an important decision maker from both institutions, yes. Thank you for that question.
Can I just add something, Yukaya? It's Maggie. Just para que todos están aquí que hablan español también, no tienen que tener un MOU, o sea, decir, las universidades no tienen que, la propuesta no tiene que incluir un MOU, pero sí tienen que incluir información donde nos muestra claramente que hay una buena conexión entre ambas instituciones. Exactamente como mi colega Yukaya dijo. O sea, que las cartas muestran que ambas instituciones, o si hay varias instituciones, que todos están comprometidos a la propuesta.
Thank you, Maggie. We have another question from Alexis Wren from Costa Rica Global Learning Program. Is North-South two-way mobility a requirement for the proposal, or is it possible to have the Northern students and Southern students participate in a program together in the Southern country? We encourage bi-directional mobility, students from Latin America, the Caribbean, going to the United States and vice versa, but it's not an absolute requirement. We have seen certain programs that have only one-way mobility, but note that that is an important point that the review panels look for. And so proposals with only one-way mobility may be less competitive than those with bi-directional mobility, everything else being equal. Y para los que hablan español, no es una exigencia absoluta que la propuesta incluya movilidad de ambas direcciones, pero es algo que buscamos a través de este programa y algo que los evaluadores de las propuestas buscan. Y sí hemos visto varios ejemplos de propuestas ganadoras que incluyen solamente movilidad de una dirección, pero puede ser que ellas sean un poco menos competitivas en comparación a las propuestas con movilidad bidireccional. The second question, can professionals be included in the educational exchange? We would like to include students from the North, students from the South, and professionals from the South who would receive continuing education credits. As long as the participants are enrolled students in the institution and they will receive credit towards their degree program, then they are eligible to participate. Programs typically involve a few professors. So if you're thinking about professionals in that sense, there usually are one or two professors that travel with the students. A menos que los participantes estén registradas, inscritas en la institución de educación superior y van a recibir crédito académico para su participación en el programa, pueden contarse como participantes válidos del programa. Let's see, the next question from Chiara Pais, and feel free, Laura or Maggie, to jump in if you want to add anything on any of these answers.
Sure.
I'll keep going down the list, but feel free to jump in, please. Both universities, our university and the partner university, have to send/upload the proposal. So only one institution actually submits the proposal. For each proposal, there is a lead institution that will be both the submitter of the proposal and then later the financial manager of the grant if they are selected for funding. And that can be either the US institution or the institution in Latin America or the Caribbean. We have no preference either way on that.
Yukaya, voy a tomar la pregunta de Galaxy, creo es de Guatemala. ¿Las universidades en Centroamérica deben encontrar o contactar a la universidad en los Estados Unidos para proyectos? Yes. La idea de cada convocatoria de 100K es que nosotros lanzamos las convocatorias, el RFP, lo cual está súper bien ubicada en la página web de 100K. Podemos, están ahí, pueden ver en la página web de 100K. Y exactamente lo que queremos, se trata de que tanto las universidades en los Estados Unidos como las universidades y los centros técnicos en Centroamérica o la República Dominicana en este caso, que ustedes están averiguando con quién puede crear una alianza, con quién puede trabajar. Y muchas veces existen conexiones dentro de cada institución, ya sea por medio de las facultades, por los profesores, etc. Y la idea es que el concepto de 100K es que nosotros queremos que ustedes trabajen en equipos, tanto en su universidad con su alianza, su pareja en los Estados Unidos. Y como Laura mencionó, y a lo mejor podemos mostrar cómo pueden encontrar un partner, hay varias maneras, exacto. Hay miles pero también hay que pensar en los contactos en sus propias instituciones, porque hay veces que si ven los temas, pueden ver, ok, nosotros somos muy buenos en salud pública o en ciencias, o etcétera. Y también queremos trabajar con otros profesores y equipos de trabajo en los estados en estos mismos temas.
Thanks, Maggie. All right.
Thanks.
So we have a
And I
couple.
can go ahead and jump in, Yukaya, as well. We're getting some
Yeah.
questions on the proposal submission process. So the proposals will be submitted entirely online. Somebody asked, ¿cuáles son los pasos para subir las propuestas de los proyectos y todos los documentos adicionales? ¿Hay algún tutorial? En nuestro primer webinar repasamos los requisitos para entregar su propuesta. Todos esos materiales están disponibles en nuestro sitio web. Hay un PowerPoint, pero hablando en términos generales, es muy fácil. Solo hay que crear un perfil y desde allí tiene todos los pasos necesarios y el formato y todo. Pero, por supuesto, si tienen alguna pregunta, contáctenos, pero lo que recomiendo es que hagan hoy en día su cuenta, su perfil, para ver todos los materiales necesarios y para tener tiempo para contactarnos y preguntarnos si hay alguna duda adicional. And if anybody would like to know the answer to that question in English, the question was, what are the steps to upload your proposal and how can you see any documents that are necessary? So the answer to that is that we did the first webinar that we did, we went over the application requirements, the process for submitting your application. And we also we just suggest that you create your profile and you can go ahead and start your application even today. And from there, you can see all the necessary components. And if you do have any questions, you can go ahead and contact us as well. But our main advice is to create your profile and begin your application in our application portal as soon as possible.
Great, thanks, Laura. We have a question. Do we need to have specific cost sharing information for the partner institution, or is it sufficient to show cost share from the institution which submits the proposal, in our case, located in the US? You need to have the cost share information for both institutions. Whatever will be provided by both needs to be included in your proposal. And it's to your benefit to do that, because the greater the total cost share provided, the more competitive your proposal will be. En español, la pregunta fue si la propuesta, el presupuesto de la propuesta debe incluir la contrapartida de ambas instituciones, o sea, la de Estados Unidos y la de América Latina. Y la respuesta es sí, debe incluir toda la información de contrapartida, la contribución en especie, en efectivo de ambas instituciones, y es a su beneficio incluir toda esa información porque rende más competitiva su propuesta a tener más contrapartida. All right, moving on. Guillermo from USAC, Universidad San Carlos. At this pace and context, Guatemala and perhaps for other LAC countries won't be having a decent amount of the population vaccinated until 2024. Therefore, bidirectional mobility might be a problem. Apart from one-way mobility, could online activities be a complement at some stage if the conditions for traveling do not improve? This is a good question. Thank you for this. We've obviously seen a lot of disruption to the student mobility programs over the past year and a half. And for those programs that were underway, we have tried to work with them and be as flexible as possible to extend the period of implementation for their programs and grant them as much flexibility as possible to implement those in the best way that they can. We are hopeful that in the next year, the situation will change, but there's obviously a lot of uncertainty. For now, we would advise that you propose the bidirectional mobility and perhaps and include a contingency plan, and then know that we will work with you to explore options should that physical mobility not be possible. And Laura and Maggie, feel free to.
Yeah, exactly. O sea, para todos que nos escuchan, we know that these are very uncertain times because of vaccinations and because of the public health pandemic. And exactly like Yukaya said, las propuestas de 100K siempre trata de que los equipos de estudiantes van a trabajar en sus instituciones, their home institutions, y van a tener la oportunidad de tener intercambios tanto virtuales como en persona in a grant period. So what I'm saying is the teams need to think creatively. If you have a 1-year grant starting in early 2022 or spring of 2022, it's exactly what Yukaya is saying, to plan out your time, plan out this work so that students at the home institution have an opportunity to work virtually, virtual exchange with their partner institution or their partner teams in Central America or La República Dominicana, and then vice versa. And we are all working in this very new virtual environment. And so we also know that things are going to be changing as we move into 2022. So remember that these are for grants. If your team wins one of these grants in the current convocatoria, the current competition, and Lara and Yukaya, correct me, we are talking about grants that will start at the beginning of 2022 and last for about a year.
That's right. All right. So moving on, next question from Pamela Jiménez. ¿Es posible incluir en la propuesta a un profesional independiente como consultor o asesor? Para responder en español, sí es posible, pero es un modelo menos buscado y menos preferido por los comités de evaluación en general. Una de las metas importantes, uno de los metas importantes de ese programa es aumentar la capacidad de las instituciones en implementar otros programas de movilidad internacional. Así que preferimos ver que la institución está trabajando con su propia gente en vez de consultores y proveedores de programas terciarios para la implementación de su movilidad, su intercambio. In English, the question is it possible to include in the proposal a contractor or third-party provider to implement part or all of the exchange program? And that is possible. We do see examples of that, and some have won grants. But in general, it is preferred that institutions implement the exchanges themselves, unless there is a very clear case that can be made that they don't have the capacity or ability to develop that capacity in the short term, and bringing in a third party to support that program is necessary, both for the implementation of that specific project, but also to help the institution learn and grow, which is one of the goals of 100,000 Strong, to help institutions develop their in-house capacity to implement these types of programs. Next question from Ruth. Can it be 3 partners, 2 in the USA and 1 in the DR? Absolutely. As long as you have 1 institution in the US and at least 1 institution in one of the eligible countries in Latin America or the Caribbean, you are more than welcome to add additional institutions to that partnership in ways that make that work. And in fact, we've seen a lot of great examples where smaller institutions like community colleges, for example, will form a consortium and recruit student participants from multiple institutions. Entonces la pregunta es si se puede agregar más aliados a la alianza de instituciones en adición a la de una de Estados Unidos y otra de América Latina. Y la respuesta es sí, a menos que incluyan una institución en Estados Unidos y otra en América Latina, se puede agregar otras adicionales sin problema.
Yukaya, yo quiero mencionar también, a lo mejor hay gente que nos acompaña que acaba de ingresar al webinar o la conversación. Voy a decirlo en español y luego en inglés. Aquí son los temas. Entonces, para la gente que nos escuchan, si están trabajando en sus propuestas o si aún no están seguros de qué quieren hacer con su propuesta, hay que pensar estratégicamente con los temas. Hay que pensar en los equipos de trabajo en su propia institución y sus habilidades de dar y recibir habilidades de tener programas alrededor de estos temas. O sea, es decir, que cómo pueden ustedes diseñar e implementar programas bajo estos temas, los temas que son más apropiados para su propia institución, en alianza con una institución en los Estados Unidos y viceversa. In English, what we'd like to say is if you're not sure how to get started, or even if you are started, the idea is to really take a look at the themes. You want to design your proposals for 100K grant competitions, whether it's this one or another one. Look at the themes. Think about the leaders on your campus and your institutions who do the work in these fields. And think about how your teams at your respective institutions can design unique, dynamic, innovative training and exchange programs. Remember, we're talking these propuestas your proposals you will want to show us how you can provide training both virtually and in person. And just like Yukaya said, we understand about the pandemic, we understand this. So you want to think creatively, again, starting in early 22 for approximately an academic year or more, how could your team design unique, innovative partnership and training programs around these themes?
Great, thanks, Maggie. Moving on, we have another question from Claudio Diaz. For a project related to training students to collect climate data for sustainable building design, is it possible to use part of the funds to buy weather stations? The answer is yes, it is possible, but review committees typically prefer strongly to see the vast majority of the budget being dedicated to the students, to the costs that students will bear, and to keep their real costs at an absolute minimum. And so a project budget that dedicates a significant amount to, say, infrastructure type expenses or project materials will probably be seen as less competitive than others that maximize the amount of funds going to students. So if in these sorts of situations, what we recommend is that the universities or colleges try to prioritize what funds they're going to provide as counterpart to cover those types of costs and prioritize the grant resources to go towards the students. En español, la pregunta es si se puede utilizar los fondos de presupuesto de la subvención para costos de infraestructura física como estaciones de investigación o lo que sea. Y la respuesta es sí, pero los comités de evaluadores prefieren muy fuertemente ver que la mayoría de los fondos se dediquen a los estudiantes, a los costos de los estudiantes y del programa en sí. Y lo que sugerimos en esta situación es que la contrapartida de las instituciones, de las universidades o colleges, que esta parte se utiliza para comprar las instalaciones o cualquier tipo de infraestructura que se necesita y que los fondos de la subvención se utilizan para los estudiantes. Okay, looking forward. I'd also like to know if our partner has to have an above average understanding of Spanish. It's a good question, Ruth. Thank you for that. We have seen successful programs all over. Some that have Spanish experience on the US side and some that have English experience on the Latin American side. Whatever lingua franca you're able to find that allows you to communicate is fine. the proposals need to be submitted in English, and you do need to be able to communicate between the institutions in a clear way. So we don't have any requirements around that, but it's a best practice to have some way of communicating clearly with your partner institution. Pues la pregunta es si es obligatorio que la universidad en Estados Unidos tenga una habilidad en español. Esto no es un requisito, la propuesta se tiene que entregar en inglés, pero aparte de eso no tenemos ningún requisito, pero sugerimos muy fuertemente que tenga un modo claro y para comunicar entre las dos instituciones. Okay.
I just want to say to everybody listening, the proposal checklist, these PowerPoint slides are great. And so just like Laura said from Partners in the Americas, these will be available on the website, the 100K website, but do take a look as we're going through because these are filled with information. A lot of it is very basic in terms for any kind of partnership building, any kind of opportunity. So do take a look at that. And remember that this is a convocatoria especially designed for building partnerships between Centroamérica y la República Dominicana con los Estados Unidos. And this particular 100K grant competition has been funded by Agroamerica and also in partnership with the Department of State. So we are very excited to be able to offer this opportunity, all of us at Department of State, the US embassies, and Partners in the Americas. And we are here. We encourage you all to really think about this opportunity.
All right, we have a lot of questions in the queue, so we're going to try and move through a little quicker on some of these. Regarding the cost share, if we are able to secure donations for housing, transportation, et cetera, for the program, can we include that as a cost share? The answer is yes, absolutely. Those are in-kind cost share components, and they're absolutely valid. La pregunta es si se puede incluir donaciones de tipo en especie, como el hospedaje, transporte, etcétera, en el presupuesto como contrapartida, cost share. Y la respuesta es sí, absolutamente, esos cuentan como contrapartida, sí. All right, let's see. Oh, a lot of comments.
Guy,
Some local universities. Sorry, go ahead, Laura.
Thanks. So Eric Hernandez Gaitan just asked, and thanks Maggie as well, if institutions in Mexico are eligible for this competition, and unfortunately in this competition they are not. The eligible countries are up on the screen right now. La pregunta es si son elegibles las instituciones mexicanas, y en esta convocatoria no son elegibles. Los países elegibles están aquí en la pantalla.
Okay. We have another question. ¿Puede ser incluidos servicios de traducción para actividades como conservatorios y talleres dentro del presupuesto? Sí, pero toca justificar cómo van a utilizar este fondo y por qué sea necesaria. Y esta respuesta de verdad aplica a cualquier cosa que quiera incluir en el presupuesto. Pero sí. The question is, can you include translation services for activities in the budget? The answer is yes, you can, but you need to justify why the funds are needed for that translation service. But yes, that is an absolutely valid expense. Looking forward, let's see. Okay, actually, it looks like there were a lot of comments in there. I saw 30 unread messages, but it looks like a lot of them were comments. Oh, here's another one from Alexis Wren. Regarding the sustainability plan, is it acceptable to pad the program fee for students in order to create ongoing scholarships for students of lower resources from both northern and southern countries? The answer is a no on that. The funds need to be used in the current grant period and not saved for future scholarships or other purposes. When we encourage institutions in their proposals to look at developing a sustainability plan that engages resources in their institutional budgets, outside of their institutions, looking at fundraising options from local private sector or from public sector, government, state at all levels, foundations, and also, it's not illegitimate to think about how student fees can play a role in sustainability over the long term. If you would please keep your microphones muted throughout the session. Thank you. Pues en español la pregunta es si como parte del plan de sostenibilidad, si se puede agregar a los costos para los estudiantes de la primera instalación de programa, iteración de programa, un fondo adicional para luego apoyar a estudiantes futuros, participantes futuros. Y la respuesta es no. Tiene que utilizar todos los fondos de la subvención dentro del plazo de la subvención de proyecto, que normalmente es un año. Okay. We have a new program. ¿Es viable trabajar en alianza con institutos de educación secundaria? Y la respuesta aquí es no, si no me equivoco, Laura, pero secundaria son high schoolers y 100K se dirige a instituciones de educación superior solamente. Pero esto se entiende muy ampliamente, digamos. O sea, todo tipo de institución de educación superior, terciaria, sea institutos tecnológicos, instituciones tecnológicas, politécnicas, community colleges, todo tipo de institución superior es elegible. So the question is, can projects work with high schools? And the answer is no. This program is directed toward institutions of higher education and the students at those institutions. So please make sure to include valid institutions of higher education, but we do understand that broadly to include community colleges, technical institutes, technical universities, polytechnics, all types of higher education institution, and including also government-run technical vocational education centers like SENA in Colombia, or Senai in Brazil, and Senati in Peru, others. Great. Next question, is it possible to propose a program with only graduate student participants, or should programs include undergraduates? Good question. The answer is yes. We have seen a number of programs that are focused on graduate students, and that is entirely up to the applying institutions.
You guys, this is Maggie. Part of that question was one student. I've already answered that in the chat, and we tend to discourage the just one student model, right? These would be
absolutely. Yeah, I think in general you want to maximize the number of participants, and that will help the impact. That will expand the impact of the program, but it also makes your proposal more competitive. The more students that are able to participate, the more favorably your proposal will be viewed by the review committees. And programs that are focused on graduate students tend to be more cost intensive. They often involve research, which involves additional costs. So typically it's fewer students, and there have been examples of that, but certainly not. I don't think we've ever funded a program that only involved one student traveling. That's not really the intent of this program. Pues la pregunta es si se puede enfocarse el programa en la participación de estudiantes posgrados, y la respuesta es sí se puede, pero se sugiere que maximiza el número de estudiantes que pueden participar en el programa para maximizar también el impacto del programa y también su competitividad en el proceso de evaluación, porque estamos buscando que el mayor número de estudiantes posibles puedan participar y beneficiarse de ese programa. All right, looking forward. Alexis, the answer to your question is no. So any funds, if you can leverage funds from other places, then maybe those could be held over for future years, but the grant funds cannot. Any other questions? Please send those in the chat now. And if you submitted a question higher in the chat earlier and we didn't get it, if we missed some, feel free to repost that and we'll answer it now.
I can go ahead and add just a general note and kind of a summary of what we've all been saying, which is we really encourage people to get creative, and there's a lot of places where we don't have very strict requirements, and that's where we're looking for institutions to propose something that is innovative and that that would be able to be sustained in coming years. And at the same time, we do have a lot of resources available on our website. You can see a sample proposal, which shows a sample proposal of every single component. We have very detailed information on each of the sections and what it is that we're looking for. You can look at our past grant winning projects to get an idea of the types of projects that have been funded. And also, I would say provide a lot of justification in your proposal. If you have something that you think may not be, for example, if it's only a unilateral exchange, provide justification for that in your proposal so that the reviewers are able to understand why it is that you have structured it in that way. Y en español voy a intentar decir todo lo que he dicho. Estas recomendaciones que tenemos son muy generales porque lo que estamos buscando son propuestas muy innovadoras. Entonces, hay partes que son muy estrictas y tenemos varias obligaciones, pero hay otras partes en que estamos buscando que su institución innove y crea una propuesta única. Y también que tenemos muchos recursos disponibles en nuestro sitio web y en nuestros webinars pasados. Pueden ver una propuesta que fue seleccionada y pueden verlo en entera. Y también tenemos muchas respuestas a las preguntas frecuentes. Y también pueden ver los proyectos pasados que han ganado para obtener una idea de lo que estamos buscando.
I want to tease out one point that Laura just made that I should have mentioned earlier, but there are valid reasons to have a one direction program. And we know that security situations in some places and other things can create real situations where mobility just is not possible in both directions. So as long as you explain that very clearly and justify that in your proposal, that will not count against you. Okay, we have another question. La experiencia es innovadora, cambió mucho el estilo de vida de los estudiantes. Oh, thank you. Not a question, but thank you. Yes, we hope to see innovative, impactful programs, and it's great to hear those experiences.
Ukaya and Lara, it's Maggie chiming in just with a quick question. I think that might benefit people who might have just joined or were not sure. And I also see Gladys here from Panama, from Education USA. Oh, and Gabby from Past Tegucigalpa. Yay. These are our wonderful colleagues. I really want to encourage everybody to think about how you can use, Laura, can you go back to the how can I find a partner slide? There are lots of ways to find partners. We talk about these four, attending a webinar just like you're doing today. And we really encourage people, if you don't know about Education USA, you want to learn about what they do, because part of what Education USA does is to help teams in the US partner with teams, in this case, Central America and the Dominican Republic. And we just want everybody to know that sometimes finding a partner is right there in your immediate work group. Sometimes it's about finding somebody right there on your campus, whether it's in Central America or in the US. It's about finding people who will make good team members. This is all about teamwork. It's all about teamwork, how you can put together a great proposal. Let's go to the themes really quickly again. So that teams of students in the US and in Central America and in the DR can work together to solve real world problems, gain new technical skills, and gain new ways of solving problems, whether it's at the undergraduate level or the graduate level. And you, all of you listening with us here today, you are the higher education leaders who help to make these kinds of programs and partnerships possible. So we want you to think about this as one tool in your toolbox, as a way to build partnerships, create programs. And a lot of you are talking about good questions with cost share. These grants are not $100,000 grants. These are anywhere from this particular convocatoria. These are grants at $25,000. And we have seen over 7 years how creative teams are to use in-kind contributions or cash contributions, or to find local NGOs or local businesses that support your program and that would support with finances, with mentorship, with potential internships, to get students actual real life experience in solving problems in climate, in health sciences, in food, in technology, in biotechnology, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of times it's just finding the best team members right there who you work with, even if it's working in virtual spaces, right there in your immediate teams and your institutions.
Good point. Thanks, Maggie. We have another question from Pamela Jimenez. Si hay cambios en la movilidad a causa de la pandemia, ¿es posible cambiar lo presencial a lo virtual? Y bueno, hasta la fecha, por lo menos nuestra solución preferida ha sido posponer la movilidad en vez de reemplazarla o cambiarla lo presencial a lo virtual. Hemos visto algunos casos en que han mantenido participación e intercambio utilizando lo virtual, pero siempre con la intención de implementar la movilidad física en el futuro. Así que estamos posponiendo los programas, pero manteniendo la intención de movilidad física. So the question is, if there are changes caused by the pandemic, is it possible to change physical mobility for virtual exchange? And while we've seen lots of examples where programs that can't be implemented right now because of the pandemic, they are communicating virtually and connecting the students virtually, we are postponing the physical mobility, the actual exchange of students, for a later date when that becomes possible again, rather than replacing the physical mobility with virtual exchange. So many are using virtual exchange, but we are not considering that a substitute as of yet. All right, we're coming up on the hour here. If there are any last minute burning questions, you can drop those in the chat now. And of course, our team is available. If you want to email us after the session or call Maggie, she loves calls anytime after 1 a.m. is her preference.
Así es. Lara, can you show the join, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Of course. And also someone asked if we will be sharing the recording, and the answer is yes, we will be sharing the recording as well as the PowerPoint in a follow-up email, as well as on our website. Y sí, la grabación de este webinar estará disponible en nuestro sitio web dentro de unos días.
And Laura, last, can you show the slide that shows the RFP link? That's a great slide. Great. Thank you. Gracias.
Great. Well, I think with that, thank you all for coming. and for your interest in this grant competition and for your work on international education between the United States and Latin America and the Caribbean. We appreciate what you do every day to make these opportunities possible for your students. And we, as Maggie said, we want to present this opportunity as one more tool in the tool chest and hope that it can be useful for the international education community to keep expanding and building back as we get out of the pandemic and mobility becomes possible again. So thank you all.
Thank you,
With that,
everyone.
I think we can close.